So E3 was born out of the Consumer Electronics Show, and back before there was an E3, everyone went out to Vegas and to Chicago, and these were where the games were.
There was a whole bunch of people at the Consumer Electronics Show for things other than video games. So the video game folks, like us, media folks and retailers and even publishers and developers, they were kind of shoehorned into the whole CES thing.
The industry was a lot younger back then, and it was a lot more fun in a lot of ways.
The neatest thing about those old days going to those shows is the same reason why E3 is so much fun today. You get to go and you get to see the new games before anybody else does. I mean, that's why we went.
And back then, it really was more about just fun and, hey, we're putting out these games and, hey, we hope they sell, but whatever, we're here, let's play some games, let's do whatever.
I mean, we were just kids going, and we were basically putting on our own, we're basically paying for the trip out of our own pocket.
I'm gonna get Muhammad Ali's autograph.
We got to see stuff like crazy, like Jaguar VR, Sega VR, and all kinds of weird stuff,
Higher quality
It was really neat, especially in those last days of the 16-bit era when Sega would, come to CES pretty big and, have their big section of games and all the stuff devoted to Sega CD and everything. Those were the cool old days.
But the game business got too big for CES, it got too big for all the vacuum cleaners and paper shredders and all that crap.
They didn't necessarily need to share the space at CES, and so they created their own show, which was the birth of E3.
And they moved it to LA, and then it was in Atlanta for a while, and here it was all games. So they rolled first class with this stuff and really made games just the spotlight that they deserve to be.
You look at some of the early footage, though, and just like any convention, they just had the booths, and they had people going through mariachis in the lobby. So there was some stuff that early on that they did that was a little hokey, a little campy. They still do that today.
The first few E3s were pretty modest shows. You didn't have the big extravagant stage shows and all this wild business.
Give us a demonstration here, son.
But that kind of just picked up over the years, and eventually the show got completely crazy. Just, working for Gamespot, running around that show, it's just the sensory overload. You're trying to get from point A to point B to see games X, Y, and Z, and you have 15 minutes to do so, and you have to cross through this circus to get there. Yeah, it definitely got to be a spectacle.
Way back in the day, a lot of the stuff used to seem more focused on the actual gameplay. I remember there used to be a lot more tournaments and competitions. I actually got to face off against Greg Cassavin in a Tekken tournament long before I ever knew him from GameSpot. So yeah, it was a really cool thing for gamers. And of course, there wasn't a lot of people clued into it. It really was media and retail. So there wasn't the 65,000 people walking around the show floor that didn't have any business being there. Once GameSpot started rolling hard on E3, we realized very quickly that it was the biggest event in the gaming industry. So we wanted to basically try to show as much of it off as possible, which is one of the reasons why we first adopted the live show. The live show stuff, we started evolving that over the years.
Dave, go ahead and continue with our E3 live webcast, please. Thank you.
And over the years, we just got better at it, and it's I think it's one of the staples of GameSpot content in terms of what we offer. And I think a lot of people basically that know about E3 and want to really see those games the first chance they get, they know that GameSpot.com is the place to come to see all that stuff.
The show officially begins in 15 minutes. Well, at least it's the first day of the show.
Joining me right now is Bill Trennan. How you doing, Bill?
Good, how are you?
Doing pretty good. And we have the one and only Mr. Anuma. How you doing?
Now here we are, E3 2007. The industry is kind of trying to take a step back and make it a little less crazy. It's very serious business now. The games industry is definitely growing up in a lot of ways and maturing, and it's not about the big circus and the big light show and the huge flashy music and all that business. In a lot of ways, E3 isn't crazy anymore, but GameSpot is still crazy.
Hey, what's up? Thanks, guys. I'm over here at the South Hall, and it is bumping right now.
Matt Webster is here now, executive producer of which game?
Burnout Revenge.
Burnout Revenge!
Yeah.
GameSpot is still crazy. Whoa!
I think one of the biggest things you guys have here, which is the smallest thing, of course, is this new Game Boy. You want to talk about that for a second?
Sure. We've got the Game Boy Micro. We announced this on Tuesday. The response has been truly off the hook.
We only know one way to cover E3, and that's just to go completely bananas.
We're still going to have the crazy live stage show. We're still going to have all the biggest games at E3 come through, and people are going to still get to write in and ask questions about those games.
I've got Reggie Phil's name?
Piece of man.
Piece of me. I still messed it up.
That's right. Call me Reginator.
We're still going to be running all over the place looking for all these games, only now instead of one convention center, it's going to be all over Santa Monica. I don't care what E3 does. They can tone it down all they want, but I only know one way to cover this show, and that's to write about everything I possibly can.
But I know the games are going to be there, and that's really all that matters. Is that those games are going to be there. We're going to be there, and we're going to bring you the coverage just as in depth and as immediate as we have in the past.
Gamespot is still crazy.